breaking news on Celtics Today by Chat Sports. Kristaps Porzingis has been ruled out for Game 5 versus the Miami Heat with a Soleus strain to his right calf. He, of course, did injure this in before halftime in Game 4, so he will not be playing tomorrow against the Miami Heat after he was listed on the Celtics injury report ahead of Game 5. The official report did come out here from Shams Charania saying that Celtics center Kristaps Porzingis did suffer a right soleus strain. Just for some context here, because the Celtics haven't come out with severity or a timetable for Kristaps' return yet, this is the exact same injury Giannis Antetokounmpo suffered exactly 3 weeks ago to the day against the Boston Celtics. Now, as you guys know, Giannis has not returned yet from his soleus strain. He's missed the entire first round so far going up against the Indiana Pacers, so we're obviously hoping that's not going to be the same timetable for Kristaps, but we will update you further with what we know when KP is able to come back. While we were filming, we actually did get more details from Adrian Wojanrowski on Kristaps Porzingis' injury update here, saying he's expected to miss a minimum of several games with that right soleus strain. It still isn't as detailed of a report as Boston Celtics fans may want. But, however, this report could have been a lot worse for Kristaps Porzingis moving forward. So now we know he is out for Game 5 versus the Miami Heat. But according to Woj, he's expected to miss a minimum of several more games after that. Once again, this could be the middle of round 2. This could be the end of round 2. We don't know what that minimum does mean. While it is still vague, at least we do know at least a little bit more about the future of Kristaps Porzingis' injury update. Brian Robb did tweet out and put this in perspective as to what's at stake here for Kristaps' timetable. On Wednesday, he will not be playing against the Miami Heat, but if they do beat the Miami Heat tomorrow or take it 6 games or less, and the Cavs and Magic series does not go to 7 games, that means the Boston Celtics could be playing as soon as Sunday by hosting the next round, the conference semifinals, which would only give KP 3-4 days to really try and revamp his rehab in order to return on Sunday. So that's not a very big timetable for KP to miss Game 5 and then jump back to play Game 1 if that were to be the scenario that does play out here for the Celtics. The good news is that if Kristaps Porzingis is not able to come back for numerous games, I do have hope in the Boston Celtics just a little bit. Without Kristaps Porzingis, I'm just trying to find the positive light here with what could be some really scary news and the fact that the Boston Celtics have a ton of playoff experience. In fact, they have the most playoff experience from any other team that's currently playing right now in the NBA playoffs. Jayson Tatum is damn near a veteran when it comes to making it to the Eastern Conference Finals and the NBA Finals. So Tatum knows how to get there. Jrue Holiday's got a ring. So I am very intrigued to see what the Boston Celtics will do, how they will respond, knowing they have the most postseason experience. They know what it takes. They know they have to step up if KP has to miss several games. But with that being said, I need the Celtics Today community to get the comment section flooded with KPs. I need you guys to type it multiple times, numerous times, how many ever times, make different accounts, spam your KPs. We are crossing our fingers, dotting our I's, hoping that KP will be okay to return here soon in the NBA playoffs. If you want to wish him a speedy recovery, spam KP in the comments. What's the toughest part for me to swallow about KP's injury is that it was non-contact. I hate non-contact. The exact same thing when we saw Giannis inbound and just go down without any player around him. Joe Mazzulla tried his best this entire season by doing injury watch. You always saw it. Al Horford would start, KP would rest. KP would start, Al Horford would rest. He did a really good job of maintaining Kristaps Porzingis' injury history throughout the regular season. And we're watching the game. We're live here on Celtics Today, and poor Smitty's like, are you kidding me? He made it 60-plus games in the regular season. And, of course, the first round of the NBA playoffs, something does happen. But the Celtics understand what is at stake. They understand what they have to do. And no surprise here, the veteran on the team, Kristaps' right-hand man when it comes to that center position, did speak out yesterday after Game 4's win, saying Al Horford is worried, just concerned. Anytime that any of your guys goes back, especially him, the way that he was walking, definitely concerning for me. I just hope it's nothing serious and he can get back to us quick. The good news is, it's not an Achilles. And that was scared the hell out of me when I saw something pop, the way he was walking, the way he immediately called for a sub. My heart sank. But Horford is now going to have to step up, which I am okay with. I know Horford can do it. Horford has been in the playoffs before. He understands what's at stake here. He also has been playing this game with KP the entire season of having to start in KP's place because he's sitting for rest. So Joe Mazzulla has prepped the Celtics roster in order to play without Kristaps Porzingis. And there is a lot of depth still behind Porzingis' position. While you cannot refill Kristaps Porzingis' shoes, while there is a little bit of concern of how the Celtics will play without their big man, KP, I know Al Horford's going to be able to lock it down. Luke Cornett as well, who can also play that center position really well when it comes to rebounding and facilitating. Tillman, I find a little bit slow there on defense to have the 25-year-old center, but I know he's got a bigger body, a bigger frame to be able to be down low, at least for a couple of minutes, to give these guys some rest. And same thing with Neemias Queta. I mean, he loves blocking. He loves cleaning the glass. We've seen it in the regular season. We haven't seen anything in the postseason yet from Neemias Queta nor Xavier Tillman. So we'll have to see what Joe Mazzulla decides to do with that. But you have to remember, Luke Cornett also just returned from a calf strain in Game 3 in Miami, where he only played 5 minutes or less in that Game 3. He came in a little bit in Game 4 after KP went down, but he's also returning from injury, so Joe Mazzulla can't go out there and play him for 22 minutes. He can, but he'd also be kind of risking another injury there. So now Mazzulla has to figure out what the team is going to look like without Kristaps Porzingis. And it's fortunate, but also unfortunate that Joe Mazzulla hasn't had to deal with injury really at all this season, but it's also unfortunate that he hasn't had to deal with injury at all this season. So now he's got to really learn on the fly of how this roster is going to do without KP, especially for Game 5, but for the extent of what we do not know moving forward in the NBA playoffs. But I do want to give a really quick shout out here to our sponsor on Celtics Today, Prize Picks. If you guys want to test your skills, your knowledge about the NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, MLB regular season, and numerous other sports categories, I highly suggest, I encourage, I am telling you, go play Prize Picks right now. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use that promo code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. And you can go ahead and make my Prize Picks right now if you want. You can make your own too, but I feel pretty good in my Prize Picks right now. They have Taco Tuesday, which are discounts up to 20%, 25% off of players' projected stat types, and I love Jared Allen. He's one of my favorite centers here in the league right now, so to have him having 13.5 points, I'm going to take the more on that in a must-win game, tied series against the Magic. Tyrese Maxey, same thing, lose or go home, so I think Tyrese Maxey is really going to put on a show tonight. I have him having more than 36 points, rebounds, and assists in Madison Square Garden. You can copy mine. That's okay. Or you can make your own. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use that promo code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. And watch yourself win some real money in real time. After heading to the locker room ahead of halftime in Game 4, he was seen leaving the Miami Heat facility in a walking boot. Since then, he has had imaging done, he's had that MRI done, and that's when that news did come out that it's a minimum of several games that he will miss. This is when we originally had a jump scare. We thought it was an Achilles, but thankfully it is just a calf strain. Although it's not the best news we could have attained, it is still something to go off of. When you see this picture, you think, holy crap, what's in store here for the Boston Celtics. But despite Kristaps Porzingis having this injury, Derrick White had a stellar game in Game 4, but he was only focused on KP's health after this game. And Derrick White said, I wish the best for him. I hate to see that happen. He works so hard. One of the best players in the game. I told him we got his back. We got a lot of trust and faith in this whole roster, and we're going to need everybody. That's coming from Big D White, who stepped up huge in Game 4 while he was popping off way before KP did get injured. He really finished out that game, 38 points. It just goes to show you that, yes, while Tatum and Brown are awesome, they're great, they're a dynamic duo, KP makes them a trio, there are still several other assets on this Celtics roster that can propel the Celtics throughout the NBA playoffs, or at least until KP decides to return. And NBA University did tweet out a stellar stat here on Derrick White's performance, saying Derrick White shooting 81.3 effective field goal percentage. Emphasis on 81% effective field goal percentage on 6-0 catch and shoot attempts per game in round one. He's also 15 for 20, 75% in the paint. We see how dominant he is going down low and really putting up those shots, even against some bigger bigs like Bam. He's dominant efficiency on 21.8 points per game, plus an elite POA, plus team defense, special guy, special performance. So once again, the Boston Celtics, we said this since day one, to now, the Celtics still have one of the best starting sixes in the NBA. Yes, if KP goes down for several games, I know the Celtics are going to step up, and they're going to try to play their hardest for Kristaps Porzingis. And with that being said, I'm looking at Derrick White. I'm looking at D. White step up offensively to really make up for some of those points and double digits that Kristaps Porzingis puts up scoring every single night. Do you think Derrick White will have more or less than 21.5 points in Game 5 without Kristaps Porzingis? Type M for more, type L for less. Let me know what you guys think. And if you typed M or if you typed L, well, you can go ahead and play PrizePicks as well. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. So like I said, with Kristaps Porzingis not playing for Game 5, Woj report saying he's expected to miss a minimum of several games. Everybody is going to have to step up. Whether that's Peyton Pritchard coming in and really putting up some more points on offense, Sam Hauser maybe even stepping outside of his catch-and-shoot comfort zone. The Celtics need to understand that their role might get a little bit bigger now because their big man is not going to be returning for Game 5. But here are the Celtics without Kristaps Porzingis this season. The record is 21-4. Points per game is +1. Assists per game there as well, 28.2. Field goal percentage is still right there, pretty even keel. And three-point percentage is still dominant with nearly 40% from the three-point line. So immediately in my head, I'm nervous because you look at what Game 2 did. And that was with Kristaps Porzingis not having a good game. So if you take out his stats altogether, I get a little nervous. But then you look at this and you realize Boston's pretty much the exact same team without Kristaps Porzingis when it comes to the box score. Of course, you're going to have some different stats there each and every night with how dominant KP is. You're going to have to really use Horford's width and Horford's strength down low going up against Bam. But I've loved what I've seen from Horford in this series. Going to see more from Cornette here as well. And I know that the offense on the Boston Celtics is going to have to step up and keep trying to outscore, outshoot the Miami Heat to close out the series first and foremost, and then move on without Kristaps Porzingis for a minimum of several games. Overall, Boston has developed this roster. That's why Brad Stevens was just named the NBA Executive of the Year, because he crafted this roster and he picked up Kristaps Porzingis knowing his injury history. We knew all season long Kristaps was glass and he could crumble at any moment. Thankfully, he happened to not be really injured throughout the regular season. Unfortunately, it did happen in the first series of the NBA playoffs. But Brad Stevens knows what Kristaps' injury history looks like. Now the Celtics have prepared for this. They're going to try and finish out Miami and move forward. Hopefully not without Kristaps Porzingis too long. But you got to trust Joe. You got to trust Joe Mazzulla. And what he said about his Celtics without Kristaps is, we're bringing the same mindset. Intentionality, toughness, details to the next game. Regardless of who's out there, we have different identities. So he knows that it's not just KP. We know it's not just KP. We still have the Jays. We still have Drew Holiday, Derrick White, Al Horford. I can keep going on and on, but the Celtics need to end this series tomorrow. Do not push this to a Game 6. I will lose my shit if we play Miami in a Game 6, because you want to play without Kristaps Porzingis as little as possible in the NBA playoffs. And you better hope, along with giving your well wishes to KP and wishing him good luck, you better send everything you have to the series of the Knicks and the Sixers and the Cavs and the Magic, hoping that they push this as far as they can to really extend the first round of the NBA playoffs and really try to hone out that second round starting, because you want to play without Kristaps Porzingis as little as possible. With that being said, let's just put it in perspective here. If he's out the exact same time as Giannis is, who's currently still out, who's been out for 3 weeks, looking 3 weeks ahead, that puts you towards the end of the second round, about to start the NBA Eastern Conference Finals. Do you think KP should play before the finals if he is healthy? If he's not healthy, type yes or no. Let me know down below. While you guys are at it, hit that sub button for me. We have you guys updated on anything and everything injury related. We'll have the latest on Kristaps Porzingis ahead of tomorrow's game. Subscribe to Celtics Today by Chat Sports. We've got you covered.